A wonder is supposed to survive. Stone should outlive kings, bronze should outlive armies, and a lighthouse should defeat the dark. Yet, three of the ancient world's most famous monuments vanished so completely that history was left arguing with shadows. The Seven Wonders were never just a list of buildings. They were a map of ambition. Gardens raised above a desert river, a god made in bronze, and a tower of fire watching the edge of the sea. Only the Great Pyramids still stands in something like its ancient form. The others became rumors, fragments, underwater blocks, copied engravings, and impossible questions that refuse to die. This is the story of three wonders that disappeared forever: the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Colossus of Rhodes, and the Lighthouse of Alexandria. Each was built to overpower memory. Each was eventually swallowed by it. The Hanging Gardens are the most mysterious of all. Ancient writers described terraces rising above Babylon, thick with trees, cooled by water, and made to look like a mountain built by human hands. In the imagination of later ages, Babylon became a city of towers, blue gates, straight processional roads, and royal palaces that seemed to challenge the sky itself. Nebuchadnezzar's Babylon was not a quiet place of ruins. It was an imperial capital, designed to impress every envoy, merchant, soldier, and prisoner who walked through its monumental gates. The problem is that archaeology has not found a clear, undeniable trace of the gardens. No carved label says, "Here stood the wonder." No complete plan confirms the dream. Some traditions say the gardens were built for a queen who missed the green mountains of her homeland. In that version, empire becomes personal, one king trying to turn longing into architecture. But another possibility is even stranger. Some scholars have argued that the famous gardens may not have been in Babylon at all, but in Nineveh, where Assyrian engineering lifted water into royal landscapes. That uncertainty gives the wonder its power. The gardens are not simply lost. They are disputed. They sit at the border between royal propaganda, Greek storytelling, and the broken record of archaeology. If they existed in Babylon, the gardens demanded more than beauty. They demanded irrigation, hidden machinery, labor, stone, waterproofing, and constant control over water in a land where heat could defeat grandeur. Imagine the spectacle: palm shadows on high terraces, water falling through channels, soldiers below, priests nearby, and the city hearing that its king could make a mountain grow from brick. Then the empire changed. Babylon passed from conqueror to conqueror. Palaces cracked, canals shifted, bricks were reused, and whatever once amazed travelers began to dissolve back into the plain. The Hanging Gardens disappeared in the most haunting way possible, not with one famous disaster, but by leaving so little evidence that the wonder itself became a historical trial without a verdict. Far from Mesopotamia, another wonder rose over the island of Rhodes. The Colossus was a victory monument, a bronze image of Helios, the sun god raised after the city survived the terrifying siege. Later, artists imagined the statue standing with its legs spread across the harbor entrance. That image is dramatic, unforgettable, and probably wrong, but it shows what people wanted the Colossus to mean. The real statue was already extraordinary without the legend. Around 30 meters high, it turned civic pride into a human form, making Rhodes appear protected by the power of the sun itself. To build it, the Rhodians had to think like engineers and propagandists at once. Bronze plates, inner supports, stone, ramps, scaffolding, and money captured from war all became a single public message. Every ship entering Rhodes would have felt the idea behind the monument before seeing every detail. This was a city announcing that it had not only survived danger, but transformed danger into glory. Helios was more than decoration. On Rhodian coins and civic symbols, the sun god represented identity, protection, and prestige. The Colossus turned that identity into something visible from the sea. Then, after only a few decades, the earth moved. An earthquake struck Rhodes, and the giant fell. The wonder that had been built to dominate the skyline became a body of bronze lying broken on the ground. Ancient visitors still came to see the fallen fragments. The ruin itself became famous: huge fingers, shattered limbs, and bronze pieces so large that even collapse seemed magnificent. For centuries, the broken Colossus remained part of the island's memory. Then the remains vanished into later history, reportedly sold, moved, melted, or scattered until the god of bronze had no body left. Rhodes kept its harbor, its walls, and its stories, but the statue became absence, a monument more recognizable in imagination than in evidence, a silhouette built from loss. The lighthouse of Alexandria was different. It was not only a symbol. It worked, rising on the island of Pharos. It guided ships toward one of the greatest cities of the Mediterranean world. The tower belonged to the age after Alexander, when the Ptolemies turned Egypt into a kingdom of Greek power, Egyptian wealth, scientific ambition, and imperial theater. Alexandria was built to face the sea. Its harbors connected grain, warships, merchants, scholars, and royal authority.
A lighthouse. There was not a luxury. It was the architecture of control.
Ancient descriptions suggest a tower rising in stages: a broad base, a narrowing middle, and a high beacon where fire and reflective surfaces turned human technology into a distant star. Sailors approaching Egypt did not need poetry to understand it. The pharaohs meant land, safety, taxation, inspection, commerce, and the intimidating presence of a kingdom that could command the horizon. Unlike the gardens, the lighthouse left stronger traces in text, image, and memory. It was copied, admired, and treated as the ancestor of a whole architectural type. But the sea is patient, and earthquakes are violent. Over centuries, repeated damage weakened the pharaohs. What had once seemed to master the coast began to break under the forces it had watched over. When the lighthouse finally disappeared as a standing monument, later builders used the place again. A fortress rose near the ancient site, turning the memory of guidance into the architecture of defense. Some blocks from the ancient lighthouse may still lie beneath the waters of Alexandria. The wonder did not vanish into myth alone. Part of it fell into the sea it once commanded. The pharaohs lasted longer than the Colossus and left clearer traces than the gardens. Yet in the end, even a tower built to fight darkness could not keep itself visible forever. These three wonders disappeared in three different ways. One may have vanished into uncertainty, one into earthquake and scrap, and one into sea, stone reuse, and the slow violence of time. Their disappearance is part of why they still matter. A surviving monument can be measured. A lost wonder has to be reconstructed from desire, evidence, argument, and awe. The ancient world built to be remembered, but memory is not the same as survival. Sometimes the strongest monument is the one that is gone, because every generation tries to build it again in the mind.